Hey everybody, in this video I'll be playing Stargrave's the Starport raid scenario, which will be the 7th battle for my Stargrave campaign. Hey everybody, I'm Alan, with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, tabletop gaming with bricks and blocks and helping to build your gameplay experience. In this battle, System Crash and the crew of the Crash Override are facing off once again with General Basu and the crew of the Hope Rising. In this video, I'll start by discussing the state of the crews involved in the battle, give a customized story introduction for this scenario, then we'll start the battle. In System Crash's last battle, he lost a couple of strong soldiers in their Grenadier and their sniper that was carrying an advanced carbine. They did find a better advanced carbine though in that battle. And I had them recruit a Pathfinder, but for story purposes, I'm changing that, and instead, they've hired an armored trooper robot. The crew of the Crash Override is now their new robot armored trooper, their new burner, their trooper carrying their new carbine of +1 shoot, their medic robot with jet boots, 2 robot sentries, one of them with a carbine, and one with a shotgun and a hand weapon of +1 fight. Both of these have been rewired to increase their fight to +4. They also have their case cracker and their badly wounded trooper with a shotgun, who starts the battle with just 7 health. In the Hope Rising's last battle, they successfully rescued their tech officer and found enough credits to purchase an extra quarters for their ship, which lets them have 5 of their 8 soldiers be specialists. Their crew is made up of their sniper with the carbine of +1 shoot and +1 damage, their sentry with a shotgun, their trooper with a carbine, their Pathfinder, their gunner, their medic, their Codebreaker that was reunited with them, and their droid that is currently a Grenadier. Now let's get to the bricks and blocks of the Starport raid scenario for Stargrave. After the heroic rescue of their imprisoned tech officer, the reunited member of the Hope Rising explained that when he was captured by System Crash, the crazed Tekker offered to heal his wounds and release him back to his comrades, if he would help them with a robotics project. While he didn't want to help the members of the Crash Override, he'd had no other option if he'd wanted to live. So he helped them build a heavily armored battle robot. And once the project was completed, System Crash placed him behind the energy field with food and water, and told him that General Basu had been contacted to come get him. Having their team back together, the Freedom Fighters made plans for a mission to sabotage a fleet of spacecrafts and vehicles at a pirate base that sat near the outer edges of the pirates' controlled planets. Crippling this outpost would weaken pirate forces in the vicinity sufficiently enough to allow the peoples of the nearby planets to fight back and hopefully regain possession of their system. Everything was going as planned. Computer systems had been hacked to cause the self-destruction of the pirate ships, and the crew of the Hope Rising needed only to flee the base and get back to their ship when they were confronted with the crew of the Crash Override, who were, for some reason, charging toward them but trying to get past them into the base. Their unstealthy approach and landing had alerted the pirates' guards, and a garrison of troops had begun to close on the 2 crews that are now trying to battle past each other. The Starport raid begins. My table is set up. We'll start by checking to see who chooses their side, and that goes to System Crash. For before game powers, Override is going to attempt to use the rewire robot power on their armored trooper. He needs a 15, and he got a 15. So he will increase the robot's fight to +5 and lower its will to +2. And since this is the first armored trooper in my campaign, I'll just point out that whenever you have one, you have to pay 50 credits at the start of the battle, or else they sit out and you can temporarily replace them with a recruit or a runner. So they're paying 50 credits, and that leaves them with just 24 left over. And now General Basu will attempt Armoury on a 9, which he got. And he'll use that to make this trooper's carbine deal +1 damage for this battle. And then he'll attempt Toxic Secretion on a 13. And he got that also. And he'll use that to further power up their trooper and also their gunner, so they both deal toxic damage with any successful attack. Taking a look at my battlefield, this scenario calls for 4 ships to be placed. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Then each player can place a repair bot next to a ship. So we've got 1 there and 1 down there. Now the repair bots sound like they would maybe heal figures that were next to them, but they actually just kind of wander around unaggressively. And if they ever take any damage, then they'll follow the normal rules for uncontrolled creatures. So it might be advantageous to shoot one that's next to an enemy, so then it will attack your opponent. At the start of each turn after the first, there's a chance that one of these spaceships might start up their engines, and then the following turn take off from the battlefield, which could open up some lines of fire. And if that doesn't happen, there's a higher likelihood than usual that some unwanted attention in the form of pirates will start flooding this battlefield. One final rule for this scenario is that figures are only allowed to leave via the opposing table edge, so no sides, and they can't move off their own side. They're going to be forced to run past each other. So my own take on this scenario is that General Basu and the crew of the Hope Rising have essentially just come and sabotaged a pirate base, which would be kind of off camera over here. They've set up all of their ships to kind of run on autopilot to basically fly off somewhere and crash to diminish some resources that the pirates have. They plan to just have a quick escape off the out of the base, but System Crash and his team have shown up, and they for some reason are wanting to run into the pirate base to cause some chaos of their own. So they're going to have to run past each other and see who makes it off the board. And I almost forgot to set up my loot tokens. Right in the middle here, we have a physical loot token. This scenario calls for it to be physical in this scenario. Then System Crash placed a physical loot there. General Basu placed a data loot token up on the second floor of this building. Then System Crash placed a data token there. And then I got to thinking about the fact that since you can only leave via the opposing edge, General Basu's team put a physical loot token right over here on this far corner, because that means someone's going to have to run all the way down there and then lug the physical token while encumbered clear across the board. So that's just a little pro tip if you're playing with your friends at home, to put a token right in the corner there. For deployments, System Crash decided to set up over here on this side of the table. So they've got their trooper that's carrying the carbine of +1 shoot, their trooper with a shotgun who's starting at half health because he was badly wounded in the last battle. Here's Override, their medic that's wearing the jet pack or jet boots. System Crash is right here, and their Case Cracker is here, who's going to have to decide if he wants to go towards the middle loot token or the other physical loot that's way back there. And then they've got their robots, their other robots here. They've got 2 sentries, this one here with the carbine or the shotgun and the hand weapon of Fight +1, next to their brand new and freshly rewired armored trooper robot. And then they've got their new burner over there who's looking to burn something. For General Basu's team over here, starting down here, they've got Gol'Bloth, the first mate, next to their Pathfinder. Here is their Sentry, their gunner that has Toxic Secretion, their robot that's now their Grenadier, their Codebreaker that's back with them, General Basu, their trooper that's got quite the power up there with Toxic Secretion and +1 damage. Here is their medic, and then their sniper that's got the carbine of +1 shoot and +1 damage. Initiative to start out the game, and that goes to General Basu and the crew of the Hope Rising. General Basu will start out by activating by himself, and he will use the coordinated fire ability on the trooper there. He needs a 9, and so that trooper now has +1 shoot, +1 damage, and deals toxic damage. Basu will then power move and regular move around this building and right behind these barrels. System Crash will then activate with this Sentry, their Armored Trooper, and this Case Cracker, and they will start by moving the Case Cracker. He can go 9 inches on a double move over to here. They've decided to go ahead and send him at that physical loot. And then System Crash is going to attempt the transport ability on him. He needs an 8, and he gets a 9. So transport can affect any figure within 12 inches. He's 11 inches, and that moves him 6 inches, which gets him just into contact with this physical loot. And then System Crash is just going to use his power move and regular move to come right over here. Then he's going to have this Armored Trooper kind of drive its way over to here. He's on that first step. And he can go 9 on a double move, and then the Sentry, going 8 on a double move, can get right over to here. To the first mate phase, Gol'Bloth over here is going to activate with the Pathfinder and the Sentry. He'll start by sending the Pathfinder up here, 10.5 inches on a double move to there, and then Gol'Bloth is going to move and power move 9 inches up to here. And from there, he is going to attempt the break lock power on the central loot token. He needs a 13. He gets an 8. He will exert for 5 to make that work, and takes 1 point of strain for a total of 6 damage. So that cracks open, revealing the loot inside. And then the Sentry is going to double move kind of right up here behind Gol'Bloth, ready to be his bodyguard. Override over here will then activate by himself, and he is going to use coordinated fire on this trooper. He needs a 13, and he is not going to exert for that. Then he will move and power move around here. 8 inches will get him right to there, which puts him close enough to potentially activate with that robot. And now to the soldier phase. This might end up being a bad idea, but I really want to get a sniper up in this tower. So this sniper here, 9 inches on a double move, he can get to the top of this and just barely inside there into some cover. So he's positioned up there, and he can see most of this side of the battlefield all the way down to that green grass. So we'll find out if this ends up paying off, or if he ends up just getting sniped out of the tower himself, or left behind as the rest of his team flees the other side of the board with treasure. And then their medic down here, she's just going to come running off this way, down around here, to right there on her 10.5 inch double move. And to set up some more sniping positions, this trooper with his powered up carbine now is going to run right up into there. So he's got a little bit of cover, and he's close enough to General Basu to activate with him next turn if they need. Then over to here. These three will all double move up here next to General Basu, with the Grenadier ending there, the gunner here, and the Case Cracker can get a little further on his double move. For the crew of the Crash Override, they're going to have this Sentry run right up here behind the armored robot, and then their burner here is going to run over here between his captain and the first mate. And then their medic robot is going to run over here on a double move, 10.5 inches to right there. Their trooper with the shotgun is going to double move up to here, 7.5 inches. He'll back into that so he can fit in there a little better. And then their other trooper with the carbine is going to move right over here next to that tree, in contact with that tree. And then from there he can actually see up to this sniper tower and see the opposing sniper, and he will take a shot. The sniper's got light cover and the shooter moved, so that gives him a total of +6 against +4 shoot. And he blocks that 23 to 20. And now to the uncontrolled creature phase. These two repair bots, they will randomly move, but they will not move into combat. If they would move into combat, instead they just move 1 inch away from that figure and end their activation. This one here rolled to move this way, so they've got a 5-inch move, which puts him right there at the entrance to that tunnel. And then this other one here, he rolled to move this way, so he would end up in contact with them, so he'll just move over here, so he is more than 1 inch away from them. So I was just about to make my roll to see if one of these ships might start to take off, or if some unwanted attention would pop up. But looking at the exact wording for the scenario, it says at the start of each turn, the primary player makes the roll. So I'll go ahead and roll initiative for the next round, and then the primary player will make that roll. So this round, we've got System Crash going first. And now he'll make the roll to see what happens. A 17. So one of the ships only takes off on a roll of a 1 to 4. But otherwise, there's a little bit of an equation here. You take the number rolled, add 2, and then also add the current turn number. So this gets a total of +4 to it, which gives a result of 21 on the unwanted attention table. So a 21 sends 2 pirate troopers onto the battlefield, and my die roll pointed to this back corner. So that is where they are set up, kind of out of the way of anybody except for this case cracker if he ends up just trying to beeline it down the side of the table here. System Crash is going to activate with his burner here, and he's going to start by using the transport power on the burner. He needs an 8, which he gets. So he will move the burner 6 inches this direction, right to the top of these stairs. And then he will move and power move. He's got to kind of climb over this, but 8 inches total, minus height, climbing and whatnot. It can get him to right there. And then this burner will activate, and he'll move 5 inches to right here. And then from right there, he can fire a line of flame kind of underneath this ramp. They can hit the Pathfinder and Gol'Bloth. And I'll point out that intervening terrain does not matter with flamethrower attacks. Only solid cover comes into effect. So we'll start with the Pathfinder. Since the burner moved, he's got a +4 against +2 shoot. And that is a 10 with +2 damage that ignores armor. So that is 3 damage on the Pathfinder. Now against Gol'Bloth, he's got normally a +4, so he's +5 against the hasty shot. But the burner wins. That's a 16 to a 17. With the +2 damage, that essentially makes that a 20 against only 9 armor. That deals 11 points of damage. Gol'Bloth was down to 9, so he goes down from that flamethrower attack. That is not good. Well, the loss of Gol'Bloth is definitely going to affect their strategy here. General Basu is going to activate by himself and run right over here with his power move. And then he is going to use target designation on the burner. He needs an 8 for this, which he gets. So that burner will get a -2 to all of its rolls to defend against shooting attacks. And then General Basu will finish out his turn by moving 5 inches over to here. Override here will then activate by himself. He will move and power move over to this corner. And from there he is going to attempt coordinated fire again on this trooper. On a 13, he will exert for 1. And since Gol'Bloth has fallen, we'll go to the soldier phase for the Crash Override. They'll start with having their medic here. On a single move, he can just barely get over here, climb this ladder, which I say allows figures to go at normal rate, and get right in front of this computer here to try to unlock this data loot. Medics have a +3 will. He needs a 14 and only gets a 10. And then to continue on the theme of opening loot, trying to anyway, this case cracker back here is going to attempt to break into that physical loot. He's got a +8, needs a 14, and unlocks that, and he automatically starts carrying that. So he's got his loot, and then he will make his single half move 3 inches right up to here. Next, they'll have their armored robot drive right up here and take some cover behind this tree and this barrel. And then this Sentry here is going to move over to here. Not quite a double move, but wants to stay out of line of sight of those pirates that popped up. This Sentry here is going to double move over here. It puts him out in the open, but puts him in a better position to attack next round. And then this trooper over here is going to double move over here, climb this ladder, and end up right behind the medic droid. And then their trooper that now has a better shoot value is going to take a shot at the sniper up in the tower, and he has light cover. So this is a +4 shot against +5 defense, and that misses. The trooper will just stay where he's at. For the crew of the Hope Rising, they'll start with having this trooper over here fire his carbine at this burner. He's got a straight shot there with no intervening terrain. With all his power-ups, he's a +4, and the burner is only a +1 because target designation gives him a -2 to his fight. And that is a 17 to a 17, so a tie misses. He'll choose to stay where he is, and now this sniper is going to take a shot doing the same thing. The sniper is a +5 against +1, and he gets an 11. That carbine deals +1 damage, so that deals just 1 point of damage to him. The Grenadier is now going to launch a grenade up here right between these two, and they're just barely within 3 inches of each other. He can't see the spot, so he doesn't get any bonus from that. He gets a -1 for grenade launcher, so +2 overall. And he only gets a 6, so that fails by 6. So this could be really bad. 6 is the most it can fail by and still blow up somewhere. And 6 inches this way, as the die was pointing, is going to be right at the feet of their Pathfinder. So the Pathfinder will be +3 defense against +3 grenade. And luckily that misses there. Then the Grenadier is going to kind of weave his way around his teammates to right there. And then, hoping somebody can do something productive this round, this gunner is going to run right up here. And from there, he is going to take a shot at that burner. So he's a +3 against +1 because of target designation. And that misses as well. Well, next their tech officer is going to run 6 inches over here by General Basu. And from there, he's going to fire his pistol at the burner. So he's a +2. And the burner, I guess it's a hasty shot, so he's a +2 defense. And once again, they miss. Well, since nobody seems to be able to shoot that burner, this Pathfinder is just going to continue with his original plan to run up here and pick up this physical loot. And then this Sentry is going to run over here. He can just barely get into physical combat with the burner on a double move, and that will at least prevent him from shooting flames everywhere. And lastly, this medic is going to run over here against this loot on a double move. Now to the uncontrolled creature phase with these two pirate troopers down here. This one here can actually see through here over to this trooper, and there's 2 pieces of terrain that kind of block the view, but otherwise he has no cover from where he's at. Pirate troopers have +2 shoot, and troopers have +2 fight and defense. And that is a 19, dealing 8 points of damage to the trooper. So the freedom fighters weren't expecting the pirates to get out here, apparently. So he is hit by a sneak attack and is stunned. Alright, then that pirate trooper will stay there, but this one who can't see anybody, roll to randomly move this way 5 inches. And then for the repair bots, this one here, roll to randomly move this direction. He'll run into the ship there. And the other one here is randomly moving out of this little tunnel right over, I guess he would come into this doorway. So he's down here on the first floor of this building, and we'll see if I can remember he's in there. We'll roll initiative for the next round, and that goes to System Crash again. So he makes the roll to see what happens this turn, and a 9. This turn we add 5 to that, giving 14, which is just under the minimum for something to show up. System Crash over here is going to start out by power moving over to this corner. And from there, he can barely see that data loot, and he will attempt to unlock that with data knock, on a 10, which he gets. So that is now free for the taking, and then System Crash is going to use his regular move, 5 inches right up to here. General Basu is then going to activate with the Codebreaker and the Runner, and he is going to start out by using the command power on the Pathfinder. He needs a 10. Failure by 5. He's going to go ahead and exert for 5 to make sure that works, and then he's going to head into this building to right there. And then putting the roof back on, this Codebreaker is now going to come over here. Getting his helmet back on, he's going to try to break into this physical loot. So he only gets a +2 to this. But a 17. They got a high roll for once. So that will show up right next to the medic, and then she will pick it up, and she is going to run this way, behind this building, with her loot. And now for this Pathfinder up here who's carrying loot. He's going to run down this ramp and then just hop off right there next to those barrels carrying his loot. To Override's turn, he is within 3 inches of the Sentry, but he can't see him, so they can't activate together. So what he's going to do is he's going to step out here and then use remote firing on the robot. He needs an 11 for this. Failure by 5, he will let that fail. And then he'll just power move back into cover. For the soldier phase of the Crash Override, this medic robot here will once again try to unlock this loot token. He's got a +3, and he gets a 9, fails again. Then the trooper with his whopping +0 will step in and try his luck. And he gets a 14 and unlocks it. And I just realized that I accidentally gave them a data loot for opening up that physical case. So she would have a physical loot and she wouldn't be able to run quite as far. So instead, I'm just going to say she ran into this building. And 3.5 inches on a half move would get her just right inside that doorway. And now I'll put this token up here by the data loot. And then they're going to have this trooper over here. He'll go ahead and step away from this tree now. He'll run right over here where he's got a clear shot at this gunner up there. He did move, so that gives the gunner +4 against the +4 shoot. And that misses. And I just realized he's actually a +5 shoot because he has the carbine of +1 shoot and coordinated fire, but he still missed. And then we're going to have this Sentry fire his shotgun at the Pathfinder. The shot is only a +2, and the Pathfinder has light cover for +5 defense. And the Pathfinder defends. Then the Sentry will run up and get into combat. I guess the Sentry would have had one less fight because he is encumbered due to that physical loot. And next, their armored trooper here wants to come over to attack this Sentry, but he can't really get on to this spot without falling off. So he's going to have to use both of his actions to essentially climb around this sentry and get into combat to add support for the burner to attack. The burner is a +5 against +3 defense. And the sentry wins. He will push out of combat. I meant to say he'd push the burner out of combat, but actually I think he's just going to stay there to try to keep those two figures at bay. Then their other sentry here is going to come over here and pick up the data loot. And then their case cracker over here is going to double move 4.5 inches right over here with his data loot. For the Hope Rising, this stunned trooper over here will stand up and then use his only action to run over here 5 inches. Their gunner will then fire at this trooper over here who's got light cover. So that makes him a +4 defense against +3 shoot. And that is defended. And he wants to snap into combat over here with his Pathfinder, but he can't quite reach, so he's going to come over this way instead. For this Grenadier, I wasn't really thinking when I tucked him against the wall because he can't really arc any shots very well out of that position. So he's just going to run over and attack this sentry here to try to free up his buddy to run away. So the Grenadier is +5 with support, but the Sentry is also +5 with his rewiring and his hand weapon of +1 fight. And that's not good. That's a critical hit. So that deals 19 damage to the droid, and he goes down. Now their Pathfinder, encumbered and without support, will try to attack to get out of combat. So he's a +2 against +5. And that is a 20. That deals 9 damage to the Pathfinder, putting him down to 2 health. He is wounded. The sniper, feeling kind of lonely up here, is going to take a shot into this building at the trooper here. There is one piece of intervening terrain. So that makes a +3 defense against +5 shoot. And breaking that, he gets a 20 against 11 armor, dealing, I guess that Carbine does +1 damage, so 10 damage. He is wounded and stunned. And actually that was the trooper that started at half health, so he is down. The sniper is then going to climb out of this roost, 6 inches, well, I guess almost 6 inches to here, then drop less than 3 inches so he doesn't take damage. And he's ready to start heading out with what's left of his team here. To the uncontrolled creature phase, this trooper here that had moved can now see this sentry, but there's 2 pieces of intervening terrain along the way. So that's a +2 shoot against +6 defense, and that is defended. And the other trooper that can't see anybody rolled to randomly move this way into the edge of the board there. This repair droid here rolled to randomly move back outside. Apparently he's got some more work to do on this ship. And then the other one down here is done with that ship, and he's going to go over here, randomly move to start loading up some cargo or something. Rolling initiative for the next round, and that goes to System Crash once again. Rolling to see what happens at the end of the round, and that is a 16. And that gets a +6 this round for a 22. So that brings out 2 pirate troopers and a ruffian. And I rolled for the pirate troopers to show up right there. Apparently they've run in from their base. And the ruffian showed up over here. Apparently he was out working on a vehicle and is now coming in to see what's going on. System Crash will start the turn by running over here and then power moving right up behind this repair droid. And then he is going to use the holographic wall power on a 10, and he's got a +1 to this. He still fails. General Basu will activate with the medic, and he will start out by running over here And then using target designation on that trooper. He needs an 8, which he gets. He will then step back just a little bit so that he can act as a shield for the medic that is going to run up right behind him. For Override here, there's no one that he can really target with coordinated fire. He's already got it and everybody else is in combat. And for remote firing, I don't believe that you can have a robot use that while they're in combat, because remote firing says that the figure makes a shooting attack, and you can't make a shooting attack while in combat. So he is just going to, he's got a rapid fire, he's just going to take a shot at this repair droid and see what happens. That's a +2 shoot against +0 defense, and the repair bot defends that. And I suppose it had light cover too, but since that missed, the repair bot continues on randomly moving around as if nothing happened. And then Override is going to run over this way 5 inches. To the crew phase, the Crash Override's armored robot will start things out by attacking this Sentry with support. So this is a +7 against +3. And that is another critical hit for the Crash Override. So this Sentry is completely pummeled. We'll just have him kind of fall down here next to the treasure carrying Pathfinder, and he's wondering if he's going to be next, as this droid just kind of climbs down the hill to join into combat. And then they'll have this Sentry attack with support. So he's a +7 against +2 defense. And the Pathfinder wins with a 17. And I'd forgotten the Pathfinder's wounded, so it's a -2 to the roll, so it deals 4 damage to the Sentry. And he's going to choose to just stay in combat. At this point, holding, even though he wants to get that loot off, holding those guys at bay might be what he needs to do for his team to escape. Then this burner up here can fire a line of flame into that trooper. So that's a +2 against +2, and the trooper defends. Then the trooper will climb down and stand on these barrels to add some further support against that Pathfinder. Down here, this case cracker is going to continue to slowly make his way over here. And then this Sentry carrying the data loot is going to run down here next to this vehicle. This medic droid up here is going to pick up this data loot and then activate his jetpack, which will give him 3 extra inches he can move, which will allow him to come over here, climb down, and then get right over to here with his 10-inch single move. And lastly, they'll have this trooper take a shot at General Basu. There is 1 piece of intervening terrain. So this is a +5 shot against +6 defense. And that is a tie, so no damage. For the Hope Rising, whose hope is starting to fall, the gunner here will take a shot through this tunnel at the medic. So that is a +3 against +2 defense. And that wins but doesn't deal damage. Then the gunner could move into combat with the medic, but I think at this point they want to just try to get some figures off the board. This trooper will then run right over to here, where he will take a shot at the medic. And I guess the medic actually has light cover, so that and hasty shot gives him a +5 against +4 shoot. But he defends that. Then the Codebreaker here will take a shot, and it is a clear shot this time. So that's a +2 against +2, and that also misses. And he will then run 6 inches over here behind this barrel. And then their sniper is going to just run 9 inches on a double move to right there. To the creature phase, these pirates down here can actually, through these bushes, both see System Crash since he failed his holographic wall check, but they both have 3 pieces of intervening terrain, so we'll start with this one here. So this is a +2 shoot against +7 defense, and that is an 11, but doesn't get past his armor. Then the other one will do the same thing, and System Crash defends that. Then these 2 new pirate troopers can both see this melee, so they're both going to fire into this. As far as targets, we'll do 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, and then 16 through 20 on the Pathfinder. So the first shot is against the armored trooper. And I base my line of sight for determining intervening terrain based on the totality of the combat they can see. So there's some barrels here that are intervening terrain, and then half the combatants are against that wall, so that'll count as light cover. So the armored trooper has normally +5 fight, but it'll have +8 against +2 shoot, and it defends. And then the second shot is going to be against also the armored trooper, so +8 defense, and it blocks that. And then this ruffian over here can just barely see the head of this tech officer behind this barrel, so he will have heavy cover for this shot. So that gives the Codebreaker +6 against +2, and he defends with a 23. Initiative for the next round goes to Basu this time. We'll roll to see what event happens, and we get a 16, that's +7 this time for a 23. So a 23 brings out a pair of troopers and a pair of ruffians, and I rolled randomly for the troopers to pop up right here, and the ruffians are going to pop up down in that corner. So there are the ruffians, and here are these pirate troopers, and this one here is within an inch of the sniper, so as soon as he tries to move, that trooper will snap into combat. And General Basu over here is going to activate with the medic, and Basu will start out by moving over here 5 inches behind this bush. And then he's carrying a rapid fire, so he's actually going to fire that down here at this trooper to try to free up his sniper. And shooting isn't his thing. He's got a +2, and the trooper is a +3 because this is a hasty shot. But he hits his mark with a 21. And since that's a rapid fire, that deals +2 damage against 11 armor. So that deals 12 damage, which is just enough to take him down. And that is finally giving some hope to these freedom fighters who have been rolling horribly this battle. And then the medic is going to double move. She can get right up next to this tree, so she at least has some cover in case that ruffian ends up shooting at her. And then System Crash over here on the other side of this structure, he is going to move and power move 8 inches, which will put him right down here by this sentry. And from there, he is going to attempt transport on himself. He needs an 8, which he gets. And he'll use that to move right up here against this wall. So he's got some cover from all these troopers that are flooding the board. And in the first mate phase, Override is going to activate by himself and use the remote firing ability on this medic droid to fire a +3 shot at that trooper. The trooper does have light cover there. He needs an 11, which he fails by 4. He will exert for 4. So even though the droid only has a shoot of +2, this is still a +3 shooting attack. And the trooper is +4 defense with the light cover there. And the trooper defends. Then Override is going to power move and move over here by a bunch of his team that's hanging out over here. To the soldier phase, the Hope Rising's crew will start out by having their sniper take a close quarters sniper shot at that trooper. So he's a +5 against the trooper's +2 defense. And he only gets an 11. His carbine does deal +1 damage against 11 armor, so he takes 1 point of damage. Then he's going to run 6 inches over to here, kind of coming around the corner, so he's out of sight of that trooper. but might cause other problems with some other line of sight there. And then next, this gunner is going to take a shot at the trooper. This time it's a +3 against +2. And he hits with a 20 with +2 damage. That is 11 points of damage, which is just enough to take down that trooper. So finally hitting some shots here. Then the gunner is going to run in here to right there on a 5-inch move. And then next they're going to have this trooper take a shot at that back at that medical droid. The droid does have light cover, so he's a +4, and the trooper is shoot +4. And the shot misses. And then he will run 5 inches right into this doorway. Next, their Codebreaker here is going to take a shot at the medic droid. There's no cover from this angle, so it's a +2 against +2, and that misses as well. He will then run right over here, where he's got some protection from that ruffian and from that trooper over there. And their Pathfinder over here in the middle of the board is going to choose to do nothing but just hold on to that bag of loot for as long as he can. But now moving to System Crash's soldier phase, this armored trooper is going to try to take that away from him. With double support, that armored trooper attacks with a +9 against +1 because the Pathfinder is wounded. And that is enough to take him down. That Pathfinder put up a good fight there, but he was just no match for what he was up against. And then the armored trooper is going to roll over to here on its single move. Then their Sentry will pick up that loot bag and run over here. And then their burner here is going to double move over here. I guess he's going to come over to here. Their trooper here will take one final shot at General Basu. The general doesn't really have any cover from this angle, so he's a +5 against +4 shoot. And he defends. And then the trooper will do a single move over here next to Override. And their medic droid is going to run through this tunnel over here with his data loot. And then this Sentry over here carrying data loot will just run down here next to System Crash. And their other loot carrier is this case cracker here, and he is going to move up to here on his slowed double move. Now to the pirate phase, starting with those that can see the figures on the board. This trooper here can see this Sentry, so he will fire. There is one piece of intervening terrain in the way. And taking a closer look, this wall is actually partially in the way too. So that's a +2 shot against +4 defense. And it misses. And the only other pirate on the board that can see anybody is this ruffian here. He can see the medic, but he's got some intervening terrain there and some light cover here to shoot through. So the ruffian is a +1 shoot against +5 defense. And that is defended 19 to 16. For random moves, for these other troopers, this one rolled to run over here, and this one rolled to run that way. This one here rolled to run that way. And this one here is going to move out a little bit. And his random direction is right over here. And that doesn't help him at all. He's got a wall in front of him now, but he could potentially clog things up for these guys here. And then down here, the last random movement is this trooper, who will move 5 inches this way. And his view is blocked by this structure right in front of him. We'll roll initiative for the next round, and that goes to General Basu. And we'll see what event happens at the end of the round. An 18, and I'm adding +8 to that this round, which is a Pirate Shock Trooper, which is an armored trooper, which I've got here. But not just him, also 2 pirate troopers, so I'll just grab these 2 fallen troopers to put onto the board. And the shock trooper rolled to end up right there, and the trooper's right there. General Basu is going to try to get his team off the battlefield. He is going to activate with both the medic and the Codebreaker, and the medic can just barely make it off the board on a double move, and the Codebreaker can as well. And then Basu is going to use the target designation power on that ruffian down there. He needs an 8, which he gets. And then he will power move and move off the board to start firing up the engines on their own ship here to get out of here. System Crash down here will activate with this Sentry, and he'll start with using the transport power on his droid. He can just barely see him there. This has a 12-inch range, and he's about 11 inches away, activating on an 8, and gets it perfect. So the droid will just move right out over here so that he's got a clear line of sight at this trooper right there. And then System Crash and this Sentry are going to both run off the board here, securing their first loot. For Override, if he starts running this way, he's going to be kind of in line of sight of some of these troopers. So knowing that the battle will be over as soon as all of the loot is off the board, he and this trooper are actually going to run this way where there's no pirates hanging out. So they'll get right over here. They'll go to right there. For the remaining crew of the Hope Rising, they're all kind of pinned down over here by this building. The sniper's going to start out by moving 6 inches over here and taking a shot at that ruffian that's now got the target designation on him. Because of the hasty shot, the ruffian is +3 against +5 shoot. And that misses. This trooper here is going to run out this doorway over here, and then he will take a shot at the ruffian. This is a hasty shot with 1 piece of intervening terrain, so the ruffian's a +2, and the trooper is a +4. And he gets a 16, and that carbine deals +1 damage. So the ruffian takes 8 damage. He is wounded, he is stunned, and he's poisoned because he's got that toxic secretion on him. But it doesn't really matter at this point since he's wounded. And then this gunner is going to run out the building. He can't really get into a good spot to shoot him, so he'll just double move over to here, so he can try to get off the board next turn. For the Crash Override crew, this armored trooper is going to start out by shooting at that pirate trooper. He's a +4 against +2. And he gets a 19. He takes 8 points of damage and is stunned. That trooper is also wounded, and then the armored trooper will come over here and engage this trooper in combat. Then their burner is going to run over here 5 inches and shoot fire here at this trooper. The fire is a +2 for the trooper. He's normally +2, but he's wounded for -2 and stunned for +2, and a hasty shot, so he's a +3 total. And that definitely burns that trooper. So this trooper goes from wounded and stunned to roasted. This loot-carrying Sentry can only make it up here to this corner on a double move. But this medic here, carrying just data loot, can actually run all the way off the board on a double move. For all of the pirates, we'll start with the ones in combat, which will be this one. So he'll attack the armored trooper there. That's a +2 to a +5. And the armored trooper wins with a 17. So that deals 6 damage to the pirate, and the armored trooper will stay in combat. And next is this trooper down here, and he can see this armored trooper, so he will fire into melee. The armored trooper will be odd, and his own pirate friend will be even. And he's going to shoot his own pirate. This is a clear shot, so it's shot +2 against defensive +2. And the shot wins with a 14, dealing 3 more points of damage to him. He is now wounded. Then we'll go right up here. This trooper here can see the burner. There's 2 pieces of intervening terrain in the way. So the shot is a +2 and the defense is a +5. And it is defended. Next we'll go over here to these 2 ruffians. They can see that droid, but they're not close enough currently. So this one will move right up here. And then he will take a shot. We'll do odd and then even against his pirate. He is also going to shoot at his buddy. This is a +2 shot against +0 now that he's wounded. But he blocks the shot. This other ruffian is going to run up and do the exact same thing. See who he shoots at. Even is the pirate again. +2, and I just remembered these guys moved, so he does get a +1 to defense. Which is good. I guess he would have won anyway on a tie. Then this stunned and wounded ruffian will stand up, and he does still get 1 action. He's just limited to 1 action when he's wounded or stunned. And the sniper is barely closer than the gunner. The gunner has heavy cover, so he's got a +7, and the ruffian is a -1 because he's wounded. And that is a missed shot. For random movements, this armored trooper here, shock trooper, rolled to randomly move this way 6 inches, which will put him closest to that trooper. Since he moved, the trooper has a +3 defense against +4 shoot. And that is a 21. So that is 10 damage. He was already down to 6, so he goes down. Then this trooper here rolled to randomly move this way. And then down here on the other side of the table, this pirate trooper rolled to move this way, so he'll come right out to here. And from there he can see this loot carrying case cracker there. The case cracker has no cover or intervening terrain. He's encumbered, but it's a hasty shot, so he's got his default +2 against +2 shoot. And he does not get shot. Initiative for what will probably be the final round goes to General Basu, and he'll roll to see what event happens this turn. A 17 + 9. So a result of a 26 would have put a pirate shock trooper right into this corner, and then 2 more pirate troopers down right about there. But on this turn, the last 2 members of the Hope Rising would be able to double move off the board, avoiding getting into combat there, which would end the game at that point. And then, so that would mean that for the crew of the Crash Override, this Sentry would secure that physical loot, and this case cracker would secure that physical loot as well. And we'll get to the end of the game wrap-up. Well, General Basu definitely wasn't expecting System Crash's team to show up as they tried to flee this spaceport after trying to sabotage some of their ships, which apparently didn't work because none of the ships ended up actually taking off. But they had just lots of failed shooting attempts in this battle that really set them back early on, and they ended up with 5 of their figures falling in combat. One special thing in this scenario is you can actually pay 40 credits for any figure that has been reduced to 0 health to essentially pay a bribe to the pirates to get them back. So they will go ahead and spend 40 of their credits to bring back Gol'Bloth, which basically means he will not have to make a survival roll. But they're low on credits, so the rest will be rolling to see their fate, starting with this Sentry. He is fine. Their Pathfinder that rushed the middle of the board is fine. Their Grenadier robot is fine. And their Trooper that fell at the end is badly wounded from that shot from the Pirate Shock Trooper. And I just realized that the Hope Rising does not have enough credits to pay for Gol'Bloth's bribe. They only have 15. So I'll make a roll here, and he gets a 19 for his survival roll. So he still makes it. For experience points, they gain 30 for participating in the battle, 30 for having at least one figure reduced to 0 health, 50 for their successfully used powers, 10 for taking down 2 enemy pirate troopers, 10 for taking down 1 opposing crew member, 40 for unlocking 2 loot tokens, and 25 because they had these 5 figures here make it off the other end of the board for a total of 195 plus the 85 they already have, giving them 280 experience points. And they used 200 to increase General Basu's level to 18, and they raised his fight stat to +6 and lowered the activation number for coordinated fire down to 8. For their 1 physical loot token, they will get a 14. And that's a roll on the Advanced Technology 1 table, and they get a 16 there. So they will go ahead and sell that robot repair kit for 100 credits, and then they'll spend 50 to essentially fire and rehire their wounded trooper so that he'll start the next battle with full health, and that leaves them with 65 credits for their team. Well, System Crash's team didn't really do too much exciting that battle. I think that most of their success was actually from their opponent's failures with their dice rolls. Their new burner was probably their MVP, taking out Gol'Bloth in the second round, which really crippled the strategy for the Freedom Fighters. They did have 1 figure that fell in combat when they were trying to get to a data token, so we'll go ahead and roll to see if he makes it out alive. And they can't afford the bribe for him, so they'll make the roll, and he is definitely dead. For after game powers, System Crash will attempt Haggle on a 12, which he does not get. For experience points, they gain 30 for participating in the battle, 30 for having at least 1 figure fall in combat, 60 for the powers that they successfully used, 5 for taking down 1 of those pirate troopers, 40 for taking down 4 members of the opposing crew, 60 for unlocking 3 of the loot that they recovered, and 15 for having 3 figures make it off the opposite side of the board, for a total of 240 experience combined with the 40 they already had, give them 280. They spent 100 of that to have System Crash lower the activation number for transport down to 7, and 100 for Override to learn the drone power. And that put Override at level 5 and System Crash at level 19. I'll roll up their data loot and their physical loot. And those results get them a secret, which is something they can use at the start of another battle to potentially get a really nice loot, an advanced weapon, another advanced weapon, and some trade goods for 300 credits. For their advanced weapons, they find a 3 and a 3. They'll use 100 of the credits they found to build a assassin robot here. He's a sniper, and they moved their carbine of +1 shoot from their trooper to their new assassin, and then they moved their jetpack from their medic up to their trooper, and then their 2 pistols of +1 shoot that they found, they gave 1 to their medic and 1 to their Codebreaker. So this team is really getting powered up here, and they've got 224 credits left, and they'll have to spend some of that next game to keep their armored trooper around. I want to thank you for watching. If you notice any rules I got wrong or have any questions about my gameplay, let me and the community know in the comments below, as my goal with these videos is to create an accurate representation of how to play Stargrave. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to click like or subscribe so you can keep up with all the content that I'm releasing. And with that, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.